Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular season finale of All Around Advanced. Hope everyone's Sunday has been fantastic. That daylight savings kicking into full gear as we head into April in the spring. I am, of course, your glorious, gracious host, Terry underscore. And I'm joined by nobody today. In fact, the only thing I'm joined with on this Sunday evening is the immense air of disappointment at RGL for not having released their schedules, which means any playoff speculation is now extended double-fold, tenfold, 100-fold, because we don't actually know which teams are playing. But you know what? It is what it is, and we'll work through it. But, that's pretty much how this will go. We will do our best, or at least I will do my best, as I have always done all season long on the show for you guys, for the viewers in the stream, for the viewers on YouTube, for the viewers at home, for the viewers that are out and about, hopefully wearing a mask and all of that jazz. But let's get started. It really isn't a season of TF2 if there aren't roster changes at the final week of the season. So first and foremost, we talked about Yerb on Portland Burnsiders getting banned last week, and originally the plan was to have Della come in and sub, but they actually ended up picking up Dit off of Honey Bacon Club. So Dit has been playing at least one of their matches from last week. I'm assuming that's going to continue heading into this final week of process here, and then that'll wrap up their regular season. And then assuming that the Portland Burnsiders make playoffs, Yerb will be back fresh off the ban, hopefully a little smarter, a little smarter in his brain, not going to say slurs during playoffs and cost his team even more shenanigans down the line. Now this next roster update is very special because we are going to put this team on full blast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to point out the team Gaming. They made the decision pretty much at the roster lock to cut Zoomy, their medic, and then they put Paulie off the bench to scout, and then they put Frick, my Nick, on medic. Now, let's think about the ramifications of this for a second. So a roster lock cut seems pretty scummy to me. And granted, I know a lot of these players on that team. Obviously, it wasn't like all of their decisions or whatever. I don't know the full details, but cutting him seems like a pretty bad thing to do. And then on top of that, this has now turned into a Zoomy appreciation moment for everybody because he, through the kindness of his heart, still plays scrims for them because Nick cannot make it to normal scrim nights anymore. So like Nick is a matches only deal on medic, so Zoomy plays medic for them despite getting cut from that same team during the final 2 weeks of the season. So this is a Zoomy appreciation space. We all love and cherish Zoomy here on the show. So I'm going to play this legendary clip by request of his old teammate Carter on Rodney and the Stangers to show just how much of a baller that Zoomy is here. Let me make sure I can bring it up, otherwise I will mess things and won't go as smoothly. But here we go. I'm gonna find it, sort by views. This is a pretty classic moment from Zoomy. The sniper. Where is Inky looking on his own Tetris right now? They're at choke. Oh. Oh my god. Oh, I thought there was no way he was gonna get that shot. And now the sniper. Where? And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Zoomy shows absolutely no fear, never has, never will, staring at the sniper from his own choke on Sunshine, and doesn't care, doesn't give a fuck, doesn't give a single fuck about that. But anyway, all I wanted to say is shout outs to Zoomy, and of course, as a medic main myself, I'm always looking out for my fellow brothers that take up the mantle of the Healy class, the worst class in the game. So. Again, his kindness, hopefully his kindness will be rewarded, whether it's this season or next season. But let's get into clear cut because we had one hell of a clear cut week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, again, Advance has been spicy from start to finish here. Again, let's read at this together. No schedule in Advanced, no schedule in Main, no schedule in Intermediate, no schedule in Amateur, no schedule in Newcomer. This is very cool, RGL. Thank you. All right, but across the board, we've had first week. First week of clear cut wasn't that interesting. Mostly 4-0s, mostly 4-1s. Didn't seem too close as far as the score itself. Although we all know King of the Hill can be much more interesting than what first appears on the logs.tf page. Dynasty versus I by WinRAR is pretty important, as I've highlighted here. Actually, you know what? We'll just go through all these first of all. Um, the Goblin Zone. The Goblin Zone suffered a 4-0 loss at the hands of Dior Addicts, who actually have locked up their playoff seeds. So this one win, or maybe they already had it last week. I couldn't remember, but they are guaranteed to be in the postseason, much to the dismay of perhaps some other people, knowing the shady history of these players and this team in general for Dior Addicts. But regardless, they have punched their ticket to the postseason, and this 4-0. I mean, looks like each round lasted about a little over 5 minutes, so I wouldn't call it a thrashing, but a pretty convincing win from the DR Addicts over Goblin Zone here. Then moving along, this game, which was Honey Bacon Club versus St. Jude's. Now we talked about St. Jude's. We talked to Cadet last week. They had a really tough order going into clear cut, having to play both the number 1 and number 2 teams. They got 4-0'd by Shining Star, to be expected, but this was pretty interesting. Now, a 4-3 loss is nothing to scoff at. A 4-3 loss to Artist on King of the Hill, that's really impressive. So on one hand, props to the Cadet squad for putting up a really good show. Whoever is the other scout on Cadet's team, it is Zyhack. Zyhack had himself a game. I mean, Cadet had himself a game, 45-19. But at the end of the day, man, like Artist, 400 DPM. Though Denisovich did absolutely keep up, so it's got to be said, Denisovich had one very impressive showing. Halfway or like the latter half of the season. Stepping in for Sale once Sale left, made some big plays. But ultimately, this does two things. It puts St. Jude's in a more precarious situation come playoffs, and it also pretty much guarantees, outside of the sky is falling and Cat Posse just throw a game, it pretty much guarantees that Cat Posse will be the number 1 seed and Honey Bacon Club will be the number 2 seed by virtue of the round differential, like the percentage that we all care so much about. I guess replacing the point system or whatever, but if you look at the standings right now, Cat Posse and Honey Bacon Club have been tied ever since Cat Posse lost on Sunshine Week, but this percentage 1 difference is now a little bit bigger, because whereas Cat Posse have kind of been steamrolling the competition, or at least putting them away convincingly, Honey Bacon have a couple of scares now. We watched the 5-4 versus the Asterisk team. Watch this, and now they had a 4-3 here against St. Jude, so you can see the 6% difference right here. And again, outside of utter insanity, like Cat Posse somehow losing a match during process week, which again is a very scout heavy map, so Shining Star and Yum Yum about to have a field day. I don't think Honey Bacon can do enough to catch up. In fact, I probably should have ran the calcs on this, but if Honey Bacon go 10-0 in their rounds this week, and Cat Posse go I don't know, if they go 5-4, 5-4, I still don't think that would be enough. So maybe we'll do a little calc at the end there as we continue to go over some of these clear-cut matches. Now, this game right here was Lobsters.tf versus Monkeys at Mid. We touched on this last week on how this was a must-win game for both of these teams, because you lose and you're out, which we'll go into a little bit more in depth later. But with this defeat, Lobsters did get, unfortunately, eliminated from the playoff race. So a valiant effort and a really strong showing from them. You're going to see these guys heading into Advanced next season as well, and they're going to be bigger, they're going to be better, they're going to be bolder than ever. The Lobsters. Don't sleep on those guys. The Great Mage. Invest in the Great Mage. I'm sure many people have already. But looking at the stats here, I mean, Suika versus Zebra was, again, the touted matchup going into it, and both of them had pretty good games. But Caboose, look at this, 52 and 22 on Scout, 333 DPM. That's, best of the Scouts. Most frags in the server, ton of assists as well, so he had himself a really good game. This was I by WinRAR versus Dynasty, and another very close game. It was a 4-3 here. I didn't watch any of the clear-cut games because the map fucking sucks, and it's just so bad performance-wise. I have to restart every time I want to actually play the map. So, I didn't really stream at all this week. In fact, I don't think I streamed a single time. But regardless, a very, very clutch win for I by Winrar, not only for getting this win against, another team that's on the playoff bubble, but because I by Winrar had a bye, this, basically doubled their odds at making playoffs because they got a freebie, so to speak. But I know it certainly wasn't easy, as you can see right here. Was there any medic diff? No. Ben versus Style seemed pretty close all across the board. 16 deaths for both of them, a couple of drops here and there, but just I by Winrar eking out the win here. This was Blanc versus Team Solo and this was a really, really close game. It didn't start out that way. As someone that actually played in this match, I can tell you that we were down 3-0 at one point, but we managed to claw our way back, take 3 rounds at the very least, before ultimately losing in the final round. But for Team Solo it's obviously great for them, and for my team, it's not ideal in terms of our playoff hopes, but at least we took 3 rounds, which is the most you can do in a loss. And then another 4-3 game, Goblin Zone versus Lobsters. Now, again, because Lobsters had previously already lost, or maybe which game came first, actually? I should probably check that. Okay, yeah, so Lobsters played Monkeys at Mid first before playing Goblin Zone. Because of that loss earlier, they had already been eliminated from the race. This was just kind of looking to cause some upset potential and force Goblin Zone's hand during process week and make them feel a little bit more uncomfortable. But again, another really, really close game. Unfortunately, don't really know the details. Look at the Great Mage, 48-20. My goodness, he is the Great Mage after all. Looks like I'm seeing 3 drops here from Degnon, so maybe that was a little bit of a turning point in terms of just the overall flow of the game. Unfortunate to see that, especially on a King of the Hill map. Let's see how much pyro time. Only 2 minutes of pyro out of Muma, so kind of surprising. Both scouts obviously staying true to their normal classes on King of the Hill. Very, very important. And the final one. Oh, wait, what? Wasn't I just looking at this? Did I trip? Am I tripping? No, I guess I had it loaded up twice, but there we go. That was all the important clear-cut matches. So let me refresh. Perhaps Krajan will have worked his magic in the intermediary time. Nope. Alrighty. Well, as I head back into the standings for everybody watching, if RGL wishes to work, that'd be cool. Alright, so, like I said, the playoff picture is still a little unclear. It would have been a lot more clear had I known which teams were playing which this week, the final 2, to wrap things up. But as you can see right here, though, with the current bottom 3 teams being 8-6, it means anyone that has 9 losses is mathematically eliminated. So unfortunately, we bid farewell to Lobsters.tf. Watch This, and the predatory lending practices, aka the box tap. A valiant run, of course, but if I was urinating tree, if anybody follows that guy on YouTube, I would make the little eliminated sound, and then they would get sliced in half or something like that. But their season isn't over, but their playoffs run is. And then, of course, for teams like St. Jude's and Monkeys at Mid, they are actually, I would say for all 5 of these teams, Dynasty, Blanc, Feet Picks, St. Jude's, and Monkeys at Mid, they are in win out and pray type of situation, because 9-7 for the top 3 teams right here, for these 3 teams, it won't guarantee you playoffs, but obviously puts you in the greatest position. And then St. Jude's and Monkeys at Mid, it's gonna be pretty tough for them to win out and then also make it into playoffs. We got admin Dib Jamon in the chat. We got an oopsie on the site, I'm assuming that was supposed to be site, or on the scheduler actually, which will be worked out. Well, fair. In the meantime, I will just have to extrapolate and pontificate upon these current standings which we have here. So these 5 teams right here on the bubble, it's going to be tough, tall order for them. They got to win out on process week, and then hope for some upsets, hope for some big flubs by some of the other teams above them, and we'll see what happens. Again, they're not mathematically eliminated. The only ones that are the teams with 9 or more losses right now. But again, it's got to be said, man. Like, think about this. These bottom three teams, and I guess if you exclude the Cap and Fappen team, these three teams were still in the running for playoffs 7 weeks into the season, which is a huge deal. Again, I'm telling you, man, Advance this season was one of the most competitive any non-invite div has been in a long, long time. So, and then right here, we talked about DR Addicts. They have clinched, as you can see, they are 10-4. So even if they lost both their games on process, even if they decided to throw, even if they decided to just meme, they would finish with a 10-6 record. And the best that Goblin Zone can do is a 10-6 record. So they punched their ticket. What seed they are has yet to be determined, because again, it's going to depend on the records. It's going to depend on the percentage rounds won. But they are in a pretty good spot. 63%. That's the third most in the entire div right now. So. They are on pace to collect the third seed. And then we talked about Cat Posse versus Honey Bacon Club. The 4-3 win for Honey Bacon Club is perhaps the dagger for them in terms of trying to grab the 1 seed. But you know what? Let's do a little math right now. So I'm going to bring up the calculator. I don't think y'all can see it on the screen, so I apologize for that. But, so again, the scenario is, the best case scenario, well, okay, obviously the best case scenario is if Honey Bacon wins both their games and Cat Posse loses, right? But I don't think that's going to happen because all these teams have played most of the other tough competition, and they've already separated themselves from those teams in fact, so it seems very unlikely, outside of a colossal choke job, that either one of these teams is going to drop a game here. They both should finish 15-1. So under that assumption, let's say Honey Bacon wins 5-0, 5-0. They would be 72 rounds for, and then only 24 rounds against. That's 72 divided by 96. That is a 0.75 percentage. Now, if Cat Posse get the worst scenario, which is they only win 5-4, 5-4, that would put them at, let's see, 75 plus 26, and then 75 divided by 101. Okay, you know what? I actually was incorrect. So the math proves Cat Posse can't play Honey Bacon again because Cat Posse have not played any like all the teams yet. No team in the div has played every team yet. I know even with like some of the team deaths and jumbling things around and the bye week being in and out of the rotation, Cat Posse have absolutely not played every single team yet. So that shouldn't happen, is what I'm saying. But anyway, so I just ran the numbers. If Honey Bacon is watching or listening, or in the stream right now, if they win 5-0, 5-0, and Cat Posse win 5-4, 5-4, Honey Bacon would take the number 1 seed. So, is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? I don't know. I don't know about that part. I don't know about that one. So, for all intents and purposes, Cat Posse will absolutely be taking the number 1 seed heading into playoffs, looking like the most dangerous team in the div all season long. And then Honey Bacon will bring up the number 2 spot. Winnable, yeah. I mean, it's all winnable. It's approachable or acquirable, perhaps. And then for the teams on the remainder of the bubble, right? Team Solo and I by WinRAR are both 9-5. So a win, any one win from both those teams will be enough to get them into the dance. Because again, we know that DR Addicts can fall from 3rd to 8th if they lose out. So as long as Team Solo and I by WinRAR take a single game on Process Week, they're going to be in the postseason dance. And then as for teams like Gaming, Portland Burnsiders, the Goblin Zone, it's a little more unclear because obviously these teams can potentially lose out or at least lose one more game, and then the teams right below them, Dynasty, Blanc, Feet Picks, they could sneak in by virtue of grabbing a win, at least one win. So the top 3 teams have their playoff spots secured. Team Solo and I by WinRAR are in the next best position. They are win and in, basically. Not basically, they are in fact win and in. And then for Gaming, Portland Burnsiders, Goblin Zone, they're more of a win at least one, and then they should be okay. Dynasty, Blanc Esports, and Feet Picks are win out and need a little help. And then St. Jude's and Monkeys at Mid is win out and need a lot of help. So we'll see what shakes. How the week shakes up. Process is of course a tried and true staple of the Sixes. meta, the sixes map dynamic. Everyone knows how to play process. People that have been away from the game for a long time can still play this like the back of their hand. Very classic, very simple map, and lots of exciting things to go on mids, lots of boring stalemates on lasts, but we'll see what the div has to offer in the final week of the regular season. And again, like 10 and 6 should all but guarantee you a spot in playoffs. Or actually, we know 10 and 6 will guarantee you a spot in playoffs. 9 and 7, we'll see what these teams, what these 6 teams right here. Pretty much all eyes are going to be on these teams, and depending on what their matches are, because again, this is where the biggest amount of turmoil or turnover will be. Which teams are going to go up, which teams are going to go down, and fight for their spot in the postseason. Which you don't want to be that 8th seed, tell you that much, because then you're going to be going right up against Cat Posse in round 1, and this is only going to be single elim, as we are fielding 8 teams in the postseason, in the playoffs. So try to avoid that 8th seed. That's all I can say, because unless you're really confident in your matchup against Shining Star, Toss, and all those peeps, it's going to be a tall order for your immediate playoff, I guess, appearance. We'll do one more refresh here. We'll try to see what we got going, but I doubt we will have it. Yeah, no, unfortunate. So that is going to be pretty much it. Again, even if I had a guest on tonight, it would have pretty much been for nothing, because again, we don't know who's going to be playing who. But we did dissect the playoff picture a little bit. We know which teams are in the clear. We know which teams are going to be okay. The Goblin Zone is seeding 8th on purpose to assassinate Cat Posse. You know what? That's the genius strategy. Although, I don't know. They gotta hope. There's a lot of things that could go against them, though. So I think aiming for a specific seed is perhaps the most difficult thing you could do in TF2, because it's completely 90% of it is out of your control. But we'll see if that's the Goblin Zone's plan. Then more power to them. I wish them the best of luck. We'll see how they do. But it's not a guarantee that they're even making playoffs, much less securing the 8th seed just to go up against Cat Posse during round 1. So we'll see what develops because of that, I suppose. But that is pretty much it. The last thing that I wanted to do today, as we again approach the final week of the regular season, is I want to give a team stability shout out to the 6 teams in advance this season that did not have to go through any roster changes, any big upheaval, roster turmoil, replacing players, that sort of deal. Because as we know, teams fold like paper in our community, and we respect and we want to give appreciation and shout outs for these teams that have kept their squads together from start to finish. So in order from their place in the standings, we got I'm also probably wrong and missed something for someone, but oh well. Here's what I have for the 6 teams, and they are Cat Posse, Goblin Zone, Dynasty, Blanc Esports, Lobsters.tf, and watch this. To my knowledge, every single other roster has made a change at some point during this season. So I think the teams that didn't have to do that, they get a little respect, they get a little shout out. So props to them, and props to you guys for having tuned in to the show from week 1 to week 8. There will be a type of playoffs preview. I'm not exactly sure how I want to format that, how I want to structure or go about that just yet. I'm assuming that also Wing Bacon, Mr. Power Rankings Man, is going to have his final edition sometime this week. So be on the lookout for those. If the Power Rankings readings are your cup of tea, I'm sure he'll have something, the final installment this week, to wrap things up, I guess. And then, of course, be on the lookout on TFTV for RGL Advanced Playoffs coverage. I'm sure they're going to be prioritizing invite, but who knows? Maybe with RGL stepping on their toes, we'll divvy up some of the stuff. You can be sure that Blanc TV, assuming that my team doesn't sneak into the playoffs, Blanc TV will be providing coverage of Advanced. And I myself will be working on a playoffs preview article for the div as well. So you'll have that available. Lots of content, lots of resources. You'll love to see it. It's what this game is about, really. So Again, from the bottom of my heart, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks everybody for hanging out with me on your Sunday evenings before scrims. For those of you that do scrim on Sundays. But yeah, again, a final for the last time in the regular season. I wish all the teams playing good luck. Um, I wish the teams that are, on the outside looking in, I wish you the strength and the power and the charisma needed to maybe snag a few, steal a spot from one of these unsuspecting teams above you. And for the teams that are up at the top right now, may the odds be in your favor. Stay in there, and we'll see what happens. But my name was Terry. This was All Around Advanced, the regular season finale. And we'll see you probably in like 2 weeks because week 9 exists for invite and all that stuff. But the playoffs edition of All Around Advanced will be coming to a stream near you in the future. But for now, thanks for watching. Take care. And until next time.